Fox Sports.
We are the force. We are MC.
Royals baseball is presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Tonight from Target Field in Minneapolis, it's Game 2 of this series between the Royals and the Twins. Hi, everybody. Steve Physiak, Rex Hudler with you. The Royals won back-to-back games for the first time in more than 2 weeks, and they did it with quality pitching, great defense, and just enough offense.
Well, they may not be coming out of that offensive slump, Fizz, but I can tell you what, they're getting wins, and that's exactly what you want. 2 wins, why not make it 3 here and leave with a series?
Well, they got the big hit from Kendrys Morales, and this was a guy, 3-1 fastball he got from Phil Hughes, and he knew what to do with it.
Oh, you better believe it. The ball was not walking, and it got small in a hurry. Looked like a golf ball up there by the time it left. Upper tank here at Target Field. This is exactly what the Royals have needed. An injection of some pop from both sides of the plate that Morales brings. Exciting to see, especially hitting behind those guys up there at the top. He's driving them in.
He is our T-Mobile game changer. You see the Royals' numbers last year by their designated hitters. 6 home runs, 59 RBIs the entire season, and Morales already with 7 big flies and 41 driven in. And Rex, how about the skipper? He's continuing to make history.
In Ned we trust.
Ned Yost, the manager of the Royals, and Joe Goldberg will have his story as he continues to break Royal records for most wins as a Royals manager.
Sealed the deal last night with the save. Greg Holland got the save. The Royals with handshakes, and they will try to make it 3 in a row tonight. A happy Ned Yost because of the win, and that would be career win number 405 as a Royals manager, officially surpassing the legendary Dick Howser for second most wins in Royals history as a manager. And so as we look at our Honda Most Trusted, we see just 5 to go until he ties Royals Hall of Famer Whitey Herzog after just passing Royals Hall of Famer Dick Howser. So 5 to go until he ties Whitey at 410. As for these players, especially the young ones, Ned Yost has been their only manager.
It's meant a lot, you know. It's obviously gone by really fast, and the wins have really added up. And you know, I remember being in the minor leagues and him taking over and just being an assistant for Dayton and taking over the managing job. So to think that he's already making history, it seems like it's gone by fast, and it's just been fun to be a part of.
So many of these homegrown players that were drafted in recent years, like Hosmer and Moustakas, have only played for Ned Yost, and they should see some more history coming up, hopefully within the next 5 or 6 days, because the Royals, if they can get on fire here, they'll accumulate those wins quickly, and they are looking to make it 3 in a row here tonight. Chris Young is on the hill, and he is looking for a bounce back himself. 4 great starts to begin his time with the Royals, at least as a starter. Struggled a little bit more the last couple of times out. He's ready to take on the Twins. That's coming up next.
Internet. The Uverse revolves around you. Call 1-800-PIC-ATT. Visit your local Kansas City area Chevy dealers for great prices on all our new 2015 vehicles today. And every ticket you play gives back to schools across Missouri, so play it forward with the Missouri Lottery. Ned Yost's Royals are 13-12 on the road this year. They are 2-2 at Target Field. His State Farm batting order will have Escobar leading things off. Mike Moustakas, Rex, has really been the most consistent hitter of those 9, as he has hit at least 280 every single week, with the exception of 1 week in late May.
Hey, look, they'll take his production anytime they can get it. 322, that's a lot of it, believe me. But Hosmer and Morales, the meat of the order, they've been doing the damage against the Twins. They've got more hits than any other teammates against this team, and hopefully it doesn't change. Trevor May, he's a guy with a pretty high ERA, 4.45. They can touch him up. Only 9 walks, though, and he just walked 1 batter in his last 4 starts. That's a recipe for trouble against the Royals. This guy, he threw 19 of 23 first pitch strikes against Boston in his last outing, and whenever a guy like that faces our offense, we're usually on him quick. So look for some early runs off of Trevor May.
That could mean that Escobar goes after the first pitch of the game, and twice this year he's hit the first pitch of a game for home runs.
Love to see it, but they'll be swinging early, believe me. This guy likes to throw strike one. Defensively, the Twins, Torrey Hunter in right field, obviously, he's been the straw that's been stirring their drink this year. And when they win, he's always a part of it, but when they lose, he doesn't hit much at all. So, look, if you can contain Hunter, I think you can contain the Twins.
He went 0 for 3 with a walk last night, but he is a fan favorite, saying hi to the fans who are cheering his name out in right field. 9 American League Gold Gloves. Most of those came in center field here.
Not too shabby.
Not at Target Field at the old Metrodome, but in Minneapolis. So here we go with Escobar to lead things off. His batting average has dropped to 263 because of recent slide, but a lot of the Royals have been in that. He has 5 hits in his last 31 at-bats. Trevor May's first pitch is right down the middle. Our home plate umpire is Alan Porter. Mark Ruperger is the first base umpire. Jeff Kellogg, crew chief, at second, and Brian Onora at third. And then there's that good breaking ball from Trevor May, and he'll throw both a curve and slider.
That's right. It's got a fastball. It'll go 90 to 94 miles an hour. Average is about 92. And it'll also mix in a changeup with those other two you mentioned.
That's whacked down the left field line. And with 2 strikes on him, Escobar going to at least second base, and now we'll put the brakes on there as finally Rosario digs out that ball in the corner.
Escobar, he'll take it. Another good start. 10th double on the season as Trevor May threw him a fastball. I don't know why he would after making him look silly on that breaking ball before it, but he challenged Esky and he slapped it right down to double. Oh, yeah. Now Moose is going to do all he can to try to move him over.
Well, Trevor May is coming off the best start of his career, and it was at Fenway Park. Shut out the Red Sox in 7 innings. He said commanding his fastball was key, as in that 7 innings of work, no walks, 9 strikeouts.
Well, the Red Sox aren't the Royals. May's in trouble. Moose has got to get him over here so they can get a run on the board early.
And Mike takes upstairs. 1 ball, 1 strike. Solid game again last night. His 20th multi-hit game of the year. Jumped his batting average up to 322. He's been in the top 10, it seems like, the entire season.
Being in the number 2 hole, you got to do these things.
Well, they'll flip one into left field. That's a base hit. Escobar read it well. He comes around to score, and the Royals are in front 1-0.
There you go. Any way to get the job done. He didn't just get him over, he got him over and in. Again, second hitter in a row. May, not good pitch selection to the Royals. He's going to have trouble. That's inside pitch. Moose fooled him and just went ahead and stayed inside with his hands and dumped it over the shortstop's head. Perfect job of hitting.
19th RBI by Moustakas this year.
Told you before they even got in the box, they're going to be early hacking on this guy, and they're going to get him.
And the ball skips away from Suzuki. Moustakas will jog easily into second base. And now Lorenzo Cain in the same situation as Moustakas.
Get him over to third base. Even batting in the third hole here, you see that pitch is way out of that box there. But, you know, I don't care if you're the third place hitter or what. Move him over to third. The percentages are much higher to score him from third with less than 2. Get him over.
Well, Moustakas will be tied up in between second and third. Going to try and stay in the rundown long enough, but well played by Plouffe, who tags him out.
It's going to try to get him over there. Moose with a bad read. You know that happens sometimes, though. It's a tough reaction play from second base whenever the ball's back to the mound. Nothing you can do about that.
So with Kane, very good speed at first base, he might be running. Eric Hosmer came up with a big hit in the 8th inning last night with the Royals leading by 1. He singled to right field, and that scored Moustakas. And now he skies one in the air right side. Hunter jogs in a few steps to make the catch, and they're 2 out.
Haas just missed that one. These Royals have never seen a first pitch they didn't like, and that one was right where Haas likes it, but he just got under it.
Yeah, the bat flip told you he was disgusted with missing that pitch. Now Kendrys Morales. Phil Hughes, I thought, pitched very well for the Minnesota Twins last night, but he made one mistake in the 2nd inning. A 3-1 fastball to Kendrys, who hit it 432 feet into the right center field seats.
Morales has been such an integral part of this offense in the middle. I mean, it's amazing.
3rd in the American League in RBIs with 41. Kane does not go, and the pitch catches the inside corner, 1-1.
You know, here he is last night. That ball's out over the plate. Same pitch that he'll get tonight. Now, will he do the same thing? I don't know. You sure hope so. But anything that's out over the middle and firm, he's going to put a good swing on it. He has a chance to do that.
There's the off-speed pitch, and it's 1-2. Mark Teixeira of the Yankees leads the AL and runs batted in with 45. Josh Donaldson of Toronto is 2nd with 43, and then Morales.
This guy's going to be an all-star, Fizz.
Leading Nelson Cruz at the DH spot. 7 Royals are at the top in the American League, voting for the All-Star game in Cincinnati. And the ball was in the dirt. Late break by Lorenzo Cain, and he'll take second base.
That's the good old delay steal, and a beauty. We've seen Lorenzo Cain do that delay steal. Moustakas has tried it a couple of times, but you leave after 3 crow hops. Catcher can't see it. By then, it's too late. And a perfect pitch, by the way. Wild pitch.
They're calling it a wild pitch rather than a stolen base. Still speed at second. Morales takes it barely. Oh, they called it a strike, and Morales can't believe it. But the Royals get a run on a double by Escobar, a single by Moustakas.
It's all right. Getting on that board first is a beautiful thing. Hook the double, doink him in. Great recipe.
History to get 3,000 hits and 500 stolen bases. The lineup he sent out tonight: Dozier, Hunter Mauer, Luke Rosario, Suzuki, and Vargas dropping down in the order a bit. So you got Power at the 7th spot. And Chris Young will be on the mound for Kansas City. His first 4 starts were brilliant. His last 2 not so good against New York and Cleveland.
Happens to everyone and anyone that's played the game long enough. But Chris Young does a fine job of challenging hitters up in the strike zone. A lot of sliders, a few changeups.
Brian Dozier, we told you about his power yesterday. 11 home runs, 28 driven in. And he lifts that one high in the air. Center field, Infante or Kane. It's Omar Infante to make the catch, and there's one out.
That's exactly what Chris Young does. He's a pop-up throwing machine when he's on. Sponsored by Ford, this Royals defense, Salvador Perez. He's the king as far as the votes, folks. Keep him going. Let's continue to make him the king, as he and several of his teammates will be going to that wonderful event, and hopefully they'll win it, so they'll have home field advantage at the Cave for the people in the series. That's right. Got it all written up.
And you can go to Royals.com, and it will guide you on how to vote for those Royals All-Stars. Salvador, the leading vote getter. Hosmer in front of Miguel Cabrera. Escobar, Moustakas, Gordon, Kane also leading at their respective positions. Torrey Hunter is quickly down in the count, 0-2 on a fastball and then the curveball. That looked like a little bit of a changeup.
I'm not so sure where that was, but it looked like a good pitch over the plate, Mr. Porter. Alan Porter behind the plate. Good pitch, man, right there where you want it.
So he's going back outside, and he gets a ground ball to short. Escobar, nice big hop for him. 2 out. Our Academy leaderboard shows that Chris Young throws a lot of sliders. Only Tyson Ross of San Diego throws more.
Hey, every guy has their pitch. I think, Chris Young is more successful with that high fastball he throws up there, that invisible. But, he's got to keep him off of that, so he mixes in the slider.
Yeah, he said his command just wasn't very good to the Cleveland Indians. He had his worst start of the year, giving up 6 runs in 5 innings, 4 runs in the third. Big hit by David Murphy of Cleveland, and also Brandon Moss delivered the knockout blow with a 2-run home run in the 5th inning. Back to Young. And Joe Mauer ends the Twins first with a 1-2-3 frame for the 6'10 Chris Young.
Way to field your position. Hope you have a protected cover.
A 1-0 lead, And the Twins have been nearly unbeatable at home this year. They are 20-10. They lead the American League in most home victories. The Royals right behind with 19, but they struggled on that last homestand, going 2-4. Still, Paul Molitor knows how triumphs can be fleeting because his team in the month of June only 3-5. The last 8 games averaging just 2.8 runs per game, and the Royals limited it to 1 last night. Here is Alex Gordon batting .253.
Yeah, this inning here, he started Alex off with a breaking ball. You have to mix up those first pitches because he knows the Royals are on him.
He's missed badly to Alex, and Rex told you coming off that last start, no walks in 7 innings. He hasn't walked a man, but he's fallen behind.
I want to take a couple here, see if we can get him in trouble, get another man on base.
Right there with the fastball at 91 miles an hour.
Well, you know, I don't know. I mean, if Alex gets a pitch 3-1, he could make it 2-0 with 1 swing.
A swing and a miss, and it's a 3-2 count. Apparently we've got a few raindrops here at Target Field. Hey, we're not expecting rain tonight, but the clouds are coming from the south.
Because he got that fastball by him last pitch, he's going to try it again.
He's going to go off speed. He did. Changeup.
Came back from 3-0 there. Didn't mess around.
Yeah, there is some rain west of us as we see that off-speed pitch thrown by Trevor May. And that might be his best pitch. So 1 down for Alex Rios, who has only 1 hit since coming off the disabled list. That's in 22 at bats. You might remember back in April he was hit by a rookie reliever here at Target Field, J.R. Graham. And that ball stroked to right center field, and coming over is Aaron Hicks for the catch and second out.
He'll get going. It's just going to take him a little bit of time to get his timing back here. We saw this back here at Target Field earlier. That young guy's no longer in their bullpen. He's back in the minors, but that really set back Alex. Fortunately, the team kept playing well, but he was really hitting at that time.
Now with 2 outs, Salvador Perez. Salvi had that big home run on Sunday in the Royals 4-3 victory. Broke the 3-3 tie in the 8th inning, and then yesterday went 1 for 3 with a walk. Only his 4th walk of the year, and he has a 2-0 count right away in the 2nd inning.
J.R. Graham is still up here in the big leagues. I said he went to the minors. My mistake.
And then Salvi on a 2-0 count slings one through the whole right field.
That's how you teach it. Off-speed pitch away. Just go ahead and go with it. Another good opposite field swing like we saw him in last night's game. He's starting to come back, folks, because I showed you last night. Same thing. Look at the head. The chin was right down on contact to go to the opposite field.
This team does like to swing. Maybe dead last in the American League in walks, but second in the league in batting at .270.
Every Royals hitter has had a hit or more off of May, except Omar Infante. He's the only guy in the lineup that hadn't gotten a hit. He's 0 for 4. Therefore, he's due, and he's going to drive the bus tonight.
Yeah, he had some hard outs last night. Infante, first time up, smashed one to the second baseman Dozier, who knocked it down. It rolled away, but he had time to get it to second base for the force. Then he lined out to third base in the 5th inning, flied out to right field in the 8th, and then popped up his last time up. Good fastball at the knees. chase that one and strikes out. So May has struck out 3, but it's the Royals taking a 1-0 lead to the bottom of the second. Chris Young.
During this batting practice today, they did father's batting practice and some brothers and other relatives. And guys looked all right. That's Scott Holland. He can hit. We've seen that in the past. And some of the guys, well, they probably looked more like me. But it sounded like maybe the best hitter of the day was Hoach's brother, who showed power from both sides of the plate. Great time, and probably the best development this year was that Rex Hudler was not throwing batting practice.
You know, Joel, I am
that
so
okay to say
glad
that?
they got. Yeah,
Joel,
absolutely.
here comes an excuse.
No,
Go ahead.
Drew Butera is an active player. Of course, he's going to throw batting practice. I didn't throw batting practice for 5 years, and Davey said, "Hey,
You have 2 boys.
Would you like to throw batting practice to the dads?" Oh, of course, I'm going to say yes.
Are you throwing the guy that organized this under the bus?
No, I am not. But you know, all I can do is say yes to the opportunity.
I think they wanted you there for the entertainment, and you did.
You got a man right there, Joe.
But it's okay. The guys had a great time, and now you can entertain them. But Drew Butera, how was his batting? He threw good batting practice.
Yeah, you better believe it. All catchers throw the best batting practice because they throw right from behind their ear and the ball stays straight.
I thought it was so cool. I mean, for the dads that have been here before, they're still loving every moment of it. The ones that are new, this is truly a big league experience that they have never had before. Talking to Ben Davis, Wade's dad, he was impressed when he got off the plane the other day. He said in Kansas City, he says, I get off the plane and I get off to drive over and I'm by the airport and I see a billboard. It's got my son on it. He couldn't believe it.
That's beautiful. Let it go. Thank you, Goldie.
Well, now the Sun's playing, and Chris Young firing strike after strike to Eddie Rosario, who in the 7th inning last night took a Ryan Madsen outside fastball over the wall and left.
This guy's slowly becoming a fan favorite here in Minnesota. He's hit 383 in each of his 14 home games since being called up last month. So he's raking for the people here.
The very first pitch you saw in the big leagues came from Scott Kazmir, pretty good left-hander. He hit it out, a home run on the first pitch he sees in the big leagues. And then he sends this one to right field. Alex Rios will make the catch. Rex, from what I understand, his family was in the stands and they were shooting video on their phones, and the expression on their faces was absolutely priceless as Rosario went deep.
I saw it on the replay that night. I loved it. Pretty special moment. Baseball provides that every year. So great.
Now the batter, Kurt Suzuki. Royals were able to keep him quiet. He was 0 for 4 last night. Strike one. Both of his home runs have come in this ballpark. Popped him up. Center field for Lorenzo Cain. Another 1-2-3 inning for Chris Young, who has enjoyed 4 live all outs already. By Big Slick next Friday before the Royals take on the Red Sox. This year's event is bigger and better than ever before and will take place with a softball game on the big league field prior to the Royals game. Don't miss your chance to see local celebrities Paul Rudd, Jason Sudeikis, Rob Riggle, David Koechner, Eric Stonestreet, and their friends from Hollywood as you enjoy the star-studded night at the K. For tickets and more information, visit Royals.com/Big Slick. Here we go. Trevor May. Big guy at 6'5", 240 pounds. We saw a guy of similar build last night in Phil Hughes. Good breaking ball that sweeps away from Escobar, who doubled his first time up and scored on Moustakas' single.
Trevor May comes to the Royals offense with a high arm slot. Comes right over the top now. Last 2 pitches off speed. Escobar doubled on his fastball. If he gives him a fastball, it better not be down the middle or Esky's all over.
Two balls and 2 strikes.
Good change of speeds there. 85. It was a beauty. Let's take a look at this arm slot here. You see how he's going to separate those hands right out over the rubber on his break and coming home, staying on top, right over the top.
Tried another off-speed pitch that misses low and away, 3-2. Escobar with 7 walks this year.
Hitters like a guy that throws straight over the top and preferably fastballs. That's not breaking news or anything, Fizz.
Nope. He threw a 3-2 changeup to Gordon to strike him out. And this time Escobar reaches for that changeup and grounds out to first, to third, and then on to first. Target Field is always known as a good pitcher's ballpark, but he has struggled here in his career. A 5.73 ERA and opponents batting .322. Gave up 5 against the Royals in this ballpark back on April 13th.
Well, contrary to what people believe, you can hit homers in this ballpark. Okay, it's just got big alleys, left center, right center, center field. That's a big spacious area, but most of home runs that are hit in the big leagues are hit on the pull sides in the right field and left field. Ball will fly there.
There's that big wall in right, though, 23 feet, 8 feet from right center around to the left field pole.
Yeah, that's a, you know, you got to get over that porch. But you know, hitters and pitchers can't tell you why they have stats better at home than on the road, or vice versa. They try to do the same thing in the same game in every park they play in. That's just, for us, the media, we pick out those numbers, and then the player finds out about them and he goes, oh, I couldn't have told you that.
And sometimes that could be one bad performance on the road, much like Jeremy Guthrie suffered at Yankee Stadium earlier this year, giving up 11 runs in 1+ innings. But he has pitched well on the road in the past. And that ball is hit high in the air, right center field. Torrey Hunter found it and makes the catch. He was having fun. I mean, he has a big grin on his face after the catch. And he lost it for a moment, and once again, not only do you have some of the twilight, but you have the clouds overhead. It's the same color as the baseball.
That's 2 fastballs that were just missed being hit out of the ballpark. That one there to Moose, and then his buddy Hosmer skied one like that too.
And Torrey put his right hand on his heart and said, Elizabeth, I'm coming home. Don't let that happen again. It's just a terrible feeling when you lose the ball in the sky and you throw your palms to the heavens, and there's a shot to center field, misplayed by the center fielder Aaron Hicks, and Lorenzo Cain will get a base hit.
Lorenzo Cain, he'll take that. Thank you very much. On contact, sometimes outfielders aren't sure how to read the ball. He thought he barreled it, and so he had a late break coming in. See how that ball hit off the end of his bat. There's no meat there, so the ball's going to sink. Sometimes a play like that can come back and hurt you, especially the way the Royals swing the bats with 2 outs.
Would you like to see Cain aggressive early in the count?
No, I don't want to see him go at all, because Hal's going to hit a 2-run bomb. No need to steal when this guy's hit. Hosmer, 10 for 22 with 5 RBIs in his last 6 games here at Target. He's due. He's been carrying the load here in this ballpark against the Twins, him and his buddy Morales.
2 hits last night, scored a run, drove in a key run in the 8th.
Because, you know, Lorenzo Cain doesn't need to steal a base and get into scoring position from first. Look who's behind Hosmer, Morales.
May has an average move.
Matter of fact, he doesn't hold runners very well. Now, he worked at it this spring. May did, holding runners and trying to be quicker, but sometimes when the guy's not comfortable with the running game, he's going to leave mistakes up, and the Royals can make him pay.
Rex, I saw a mistake there. He went with a slide step, came up with the fastball, not where Suzuki wanted it. So now they send the target low and away, and he does catch the outside corner, but barely. Balls and a strike. Hosmer got off to a great start this year. 18 extra base hits in his first 35 games, but just 4 in the last 3 weeks. Three and one. Even though we've seen a lot of hitters counts 3-1, 3-2, he hasn't walked anybody yet.
You might think about it here, because Haas, a 3-1 count, he's raking. He's all over the ball. It's a pretty good hitting count in the league average.
Kane was going, and the ball fouled out of play.
Three and one, that's beautiful. Haas tried to do a little too much. That's his pull swing, and this young man does not have to pull the ball to hit it out of the park. He is so good straight away in the opposite field. And when he tries to get out there, sometimes it slows his bat a little.
With Kane's speed, if Hosmer gaps one, Lorenzen could score easily from first base. And that one is inside, ball 4, so the Royals with 2 on, 2 out for Kendrys Morales.
He walked. May wanted that pitch. Haas with a nice job spitting on that inside heater. He didn't want it. He'll take his 22nd walk. Excuse me, that's the 25th for Haas.
First pitch changeup to Kendrys Morales, who struck out looking his first time up. The highest batting average with runners in scoring position this year. Baltimore's Jimmy Paredes spent a little time with Kansas City, hitting .471, but there's Morales just under .380. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Morales knows exactly what to do wherever the ball's pitched. If he commits to swinging the ball's middle away, he can adjust his swing and take it to the opposite field. He's not a dead pull hitter. Although the ball that's middle in, he'll turn on it and stay away.
The outfield hasn't played straight up. The infield, you can see that dramatic pull, although the shortstop is still on the shortstop side of second base.
Yeah, but look at all this range he can cover there. I like this. This is a good defense by Molitor. Morales, you know, I'd play him straight up too, especially in the outfield.
It seems like May is having a greater difficulty with his fastball than he is with his off-speed pitches.
Well, I think in this situation here, you can tell he's slowing the game down. He knows how good the Royals are with 2 outs.
That ball is smacked to Joe Mauer, who will take it himself. The Royals threaten but do not score. They've led 4 in the first 3 innings.
Jeremy Guthrie, who for many years has championed putting nets to protect the fans throughout the stadium, or at least down to the dugout. Great news on Tanya Carpenter, that fan whose life was in danger over the weekend after getting hit by that bat. She has now been upgraded from serious to fair condition. So thank goodness for that and that young lady and her family. Because, guys, as we've talked about so many times, let's hope that it's not a tragedy that ends up leading the Nets going up, that maybe they could be proactive. I know that it's something the owners haven't done yet. It's something that the players, the last couple of negotiation periods, have fought for. Jeremy, on the pregame show today, first off, I asked him, would you let your kids sit right behind the dugout or close without nets? He said, no, I'm not comfortable with that, and my wife is not either. He says at least get nets extended to the dugouts and still encourage autographs, which the fans are getting all the time anyway, and the players are great about doing that, or create something for the fans to be able to get to the players, or encourage those players to go down the line. I don't think we're going to lose the autographs here, guys, but let's not lose lives, and I think that's Jeremy's point.
And Rex Hudler, you played in Japan, and they have nets that go beyond the dugouts, don't they, there?
Absolutely. They go from foul pole to foul pole. And Jeremy and all of our guys played there. This is after the World Series this year. They went over there. They saw it. They saw exactly what they had there. Fans are happy. You know, they're protected. And even the ushers will blow a whistle when a foul ball goes into the stands so people can be alerted that a ball's coming in. I mean, they do everything they can to protect their fans there.
You know, what I would say...
they're not keeping anybody from getting an autograph. You see Salvi signing through the fence there? I never had a problem giving an autograph with the fence, the netting up there.
Well, you went into the stands to give out autographs.
I'm just saying,
Look,
if that's a problem, if they're thinking that's a problem, it's not.
No, they'll find ways to do this. I think that to me, the strongest reason to do this, you've got some of the best athletes on the field with incredible hand-eye coordination, and yet they sometimes are down there when there's a big fastball pitcher that's up there. They're hiding behind the dugout nets down there because they want to make sure that they're not hit. Jeremy said he got hit once not paying attention in the dugout, and I know a lot of people say, well, then pay more attention, get off your cell phones and do all of that. You could be paying plenty of attention, HUD, and still get hit by bat, by ball. I mean, there's a reason why the first and third base coaches now wear helmets.
Tell me about it. We didn't have a fence in front of our dugouts in the 80s and 90s that I played. And look, you had to watch what was going on sitting in there. And Jeremy was right. Trained athletes have a hard time with that ball coming in there, getting out of the way. We always used to call it an ugly finder. Whenever it was coming in, somebody would yell, ugly finder.
How many times did you get hit?
Never.
But a lot of guys do, and I know you could say you're the greatest athlete and you're ready for it, but it's so dangerous.
Joe, if you're talking to somebody, it happens that quick. You take your eye off a contact, off the bat. It happens so fast.
I know that when I'm sitting down there by the camera well, and if I'm doing research, I'll sit there and do my research in between pitches, and the second that pitch goes, I'm looking back up, down, up, down, up. It's so scary down there. I know Big Papi was saying that he'll see people at Fenway when he's in the on-deck circle, and they're turning and they're talking to him, and he's trying to tell these kids, hey, pay attention, turn around a little bit. You know, I mentioned the first base and the third base coach now wearing helmets. That came about because Mike Coolbaugh lost his life, and you know, Mike Coolbaugh, a former baseball player, a great athlete. That was back in 2007. I guess what I would say is this. Are you concerned that the vision would be bad? No one complains behind home plate in the highest price seats out there, so they're not having any issues at all. You never hear anyone complain behind home plate, oh, I couldn't see anything at all. They figured it out in hockey. There are no issues with that. My question would be, why not?
It'll be settled through collective bargaining like everything else is in America. They're going to have to sit down with the players and owners and the commissioner, and they're going to figure it out what they want to do. But you're right. I'm glad that there's bringing some attention to it.
Chris Young in a real battle, meantime, with Eduardo Escobar, who's fouled off several tough pitches. Young's pitch efficiency has been outstanding, only 28 thus far, and he's working the third, and now he walks his first man. It is Escobar, who really is a tough out. So now the number 9 batter, Aaron Hicks. He had a couple of hits yesterday, including a double, and then later a single in the 7th inning, but both times was left stranded. Young, more of a fly ball pitcher than he is a ground ball pitcher. He'd love to get a double play here. The runner going. There is the throw, and Escobar is out.
They believe they can steal off Chris Young, and they're right. They can. Unless Salvi gets a good pitch to handle, he'll throw you out just like he did. Base stealers have been successful over 70% of the time in Young's career. Look at that pitch, though. It was right up and out. Salvi's able to clear himself. Throw was offline on the third base side of the bag, but Escobar with a sweet tag. He gets to the bag, reads the throw, brings it around. It's out.
Molitor has not made the decision yet to challenge it. He's on the top step.
Hope he does. They'll lose it. He's out.
Yeah, he stepped back down.
Nesky, hands are too quick.
Young throws low with the fastball. Escobar had stolen 1 this season. Molitor trying to be a little more aggressive. His team has been a little quiet the last week. Ball stroked well, but Rios there, and it is another 1-2-3 inning, albeit a walk, then a caught stealing, and Young is base 9, retired 9.
Right here, though, made a mistake. Escobar made him pay, turned on it. Then Moose, right away in the first inning, flares an inside-out swing out there to left field, 1-0. Now, Young's pretty good, and so is the bullpen, but they got to give him more than 1 run.
And that hit by Moustakas was his 28th to left field this year. Alex Gordon struck out his first time up after he got ahead 3-0.
May 29th, last time he's gone deep. He's due.
May continues to struggle with both his 2-seam and 4-seam fastball, particularly when he goes from a changeup or curve back to the fastball. Another 3-1 count to Alex, but he threw back-to-back changeups to Alex on a 3-1 count.
Alex is trying to stay within himself and think up the middle and react in.
Old foul was an off-speed pitch. And I'll bet you Alex is thinking again. 3-2. He threw me a changeup that looked good and died, faded at the end.
So when you get a guy that's pitching backwards and fastball counts, he's throwing off speed, you can sit on those. And remember, it's Suzuki who's calling the pitches. Suzuki, he's a hitter. He knows. Sometimes he can judge based on what his pitcher's got to what the hitter's thinking.
Came in with the fastball that time rather than the change. Staying with the heater, staying in.
Need a new bat.
Yeah, he missed early in this at bat with the fastball, but my goodness, those last two fastballs really well located. May right now at 59 pitches. He only needed 98 to get through 7 innings of that last start at Boston, a 2-0 victory. First career start where he is not allowed a run. Ooh, didn't miss by much, and it was the off speed again, and Gordon with the leadoff walk.
Love the plate discipline, just like Hosmer. Those were borderline pitches. It's nice to see our guys taking a walk. Now it's beautiful here in Minneapolis tonight at Target Field. The lights are reflecting off of the buildings downtown, and it's illuminating this whole yard. Beautiful time of night here.
And a lot of fans drove up from Kansas City to watch this series. We had a lot behind the Royals dugout last night during Joe Goldberg's postgame, chanting, "Let's go Royals, let's go Royals." Fouled off by Rios. I said he had 1 hit since his return from the DL. Actually, it was 3. He had a couple of hits that I did not count in my scorebook when I looked back. So 3 for 25 since his return from the disabled list, where he suffered a broken bone that set him to the sideline for almost 7 weeks.
Now, why wouldn't you put a hit in your scorecard book?
I just misread it.
Okay. It's highly unlike the professor.
Foul back, and Alex had a good swing on that one.
Yeah, he wanted it. Now, Rios, he's a veteran guy. He doesn't need somebody up in the broadcast booth that was a .262 career hitter to tell him how to hit. But he starts getting those base hits to the opposite field, getting some line drives, taking a few the opposite way, the power will come. He's trying to get it all in one swing.
That is knocked to left field. So the Royals have something cooking here in the 4th inning.
Yeah, that was an off-speed pitch, and he was out in front, so he pulled it, and that was okay. He shortened up his swing and got him a knock. Yeah, reached out, hit it off the end of the bat, got it in there. Now, one thing I can't tell you here, I'd be shocked, you might be too, to see Salvi bunt here with nobody out. Can't see it. Salvi's got to be swinging.
All right, if you're Salvador Perez, you've hit into the most double plays of any Royal, 9.
Right.
If you're Trevor May, you want him to swing at the pitch down. What do you do for May and for Perez?
For Salvi, I'm going to be thinking middle away, so I can keep my hands inside the baseball and not roll him over. If you're May, you're going to throw him some off-speed pitches down and out over the plate, so he'll pull them. And when you roll your hands as a hitter, you're going to hit a ground ball to the shortstop or the third baseman.
Went after a ball.
That would have been a double play had he hit it. Trevor Plouffe would have been right to him.
Salvi had a 2-0 count back in the second inning when he slung one into right field for a base hit. And he swings and misses at the off speed and strikes out.
Good location. Straight changeup down.
Yeah, when he's needed to make a pitch, that has been his out pitch. I mean, for a long time he's been a top prospect in baseball. He was the Philadelphia Phillies 4th-round pick in 2008 out of Kelso High School in Washington, and then traded to the Twins with Vance Worley for Ben Revere. Once again, one of the top prospects in the Twins organization, and given the chance this year because of injuries to Ricky Nolasco and also the suspension of Urban Santana. Runners go, and they've got him picked off. Oh, man.
Too bad. May, he disguised it well. Alex might have left just a little too soon, but Trevor May, he was able to read it. Good inside move to second. Wouldn't you know it? May just guessed right. That's what it was. And Alex was moving on the pitch.
Rios with very good speed. He has 2 steals this year, but he's had over 40 in his career. And he really reads pitchers' moves very well. Does not go, and Infante chases the first pitch breaking ball. That is rolled towards first. May has no play.
That's exactly what Infante ordered. All right, now he wanted to hit a homer or knock in the run, but if you can't, you look bad on a swing. That's the next best thing, and now that's going to get him out of his slump. Always does. Couldn't roll it any better. Look at the spin on it. May got confused. Thought Suzuki was going to take it. Ends up putting it in his pocket, and that's a base hit. Way to go.
Yeah, it looked like they got caught in between decision where Suzuki slowed up for a moment, and so did May at the same time, and then they burst towards the hole.
Snooze, you lose. Look at the rainbow, Fizz.
Well, there's always a little luck at the end of a rainbow. Will it come for Escobar?
Good. There are 2 outs.
And it is going towards home plate where Escobar is standing. Esky 344 with runners in scoring position. 2 balls, no strikes. Escobar, you see he's wearing number 2. Well, underneath his jersey is another number 2, although it's for his favorite point guard in the NBA, Kyrie Irving, the injured point guard for the Cleveland Cavaliers, who tonight are playing the Golden State Warriors. And Escobar, a big NBA fan and a big Cavaliers fan.
Got to watch that game 2 with him the other day. We had the fathers and players were all out. We were watching the game. He was excited. He was pulling for the Cavs. There you go. 2 outs and runners in scoring position. Royals are the best.
Up the middle, fielded by the other Escobar. They get the force, and the Royals' threat is turned back.
on here, and as we say, the Mazda game break, another American League Central team. Interleague play, all Tigers against the Cubs. Nick Castellanos with the RBI here. 6-0. Anibal Sanchez, who's been having a miserable season, is tossing the shutout at this point. John Lester, 4 1/3, 9 hits and 5 earned runs. He is already out of the game, and Edwin Jackson is in. You see the standings. Detroit 3.5 out, followed by Cleveland. Cleveland, by the way, this weekend, guys, will go up against Justin Verlander, who will make his 2015 debut.
Ooh, that'll be a good one. And the Chicago White Sox with Carlos Rodon. They are hosting Houston and Dallas Keuchel. I'm interested in that matchup as well. As you're talking about 0-0 fourth inning. And here it's 1-0 Royals. They scored a run in the first inning, but they have not run the bases that well. Now Brian Dozier is the batter. He popped up his first time up. The second baseman Omar Infante. Dozier with a quick bat, 11 home runs, and 8 of the 14 runs that Chris Young has given up have come by way of 4 home runs. Right back to Young. Now throws out Dozier. And Royals fans, join us at the Kansas City Power and Light District for official Royals watch party this Saturday, presented by 610 Sports Radio as the Royals travel east on I-70 to take on the St. Louis Cardinals. The party will begin at 2 o'clock at the KC Live stage with special appearances from Sluggard, the Cake Crew, and 610 Sports personalities, along with prizes, food and drink specials, and much more. Admission to the watch party is free and parking is just $2. Learn more now at royals.com/watch party. Danny and Carrington are going to be there.
Those are my buddies.
Chris Young to Torrey Hunter. That is deep. Gordon leaps. And Gordon with the catch.
Got a little breeze up there high at target field, and it got in that breeze. Off the bat, it didn't look like it was going to go 377 feet, but it did. Alex Gordon stayed with it. Took one look at the wall, backed up, knew right where he was, leaps, and makes another nice catch.
Hunter used to rob everybody of home runs back in the Metrodome, and now he has one taken away. That would have been home run number 340 in his great career. And 35 he's hit against Kansas City, but just outnumbered 2 here in the fourth inning. Shakes his head. Absolutely a class act who can do just about anything when he finally hangs up the spikes, Hud. And I'm talking about coaching, managing, broadcasting.
Well, you know, when you make your bed as great as he has made his during his career, he'll have a wonderful night's sleep the rest of his life.
He treats people with respect, kindness, always. There's a strike on the outside corner to Joe Mauer, who grounded back to the mound his first time up. We usually see Joe's average up over 300, but not this year, and hitting just 228 since the beginning of May. 3-1. Joe now 32 years of age in his 12th big league season. High school All-American in football and baseball here in the Twin Cities. Swing and a miss. Just did, I guess, get a piece of it. Regardless, it's a 3-2 count.
Great inside out swinger this guy is. He's got a lot of hits to left and left center field.
Knocks that one to the second baseman Infante. Nice big hop and a 1-2-3 Fourth inning, but thanks to Alex Gordon, it's still 1-0 Royals.
Great timing. Look at him. Just that ball comes down, he's out. And exactly what happened.
Order online with rapid pickup at delivery.panerabread.com. And by Chrysler, come discover great deals during the Chrysler Drive and Discover event. We come to you from Target Field, and that sun is just glaring off of that windowed building right into the faces of a lot of the fans here.
Look at the rainbow. It's gorgeous.
We had just a touch of rain early. Now no drops falling at the yard. Nobody's covered up in any umbrellas. Mike Moustakas to lead things off. A single to knock in his 19th run of the year. Hitters 2, 3, and 4. And that one will get away. May has walked 2. He's already thrown 74 pitches. Like 59% of them strikes.
Because the Royals have shown some plate discipline tonight.
Mike with a fly ball left side for Eddie Rosario. 1 out. Fans vote for the Royals Player of the Month at rallyhouse.com, and you will be entered to win a majestic prize pack from Rally House. Well, once again, the bullpen is doing their job. The Royals have not fared that well in late May and early June offensively. Lorenzo Cain, he's one of the leaders for the All-Star game, so just go to royals.com/vote. Lorenzo and Alex Gordon, along with Mike Trout of the Angels, are the 3 outfield leaders at this point. Cain, of course, drew a lot of popularity when he was voted the American League Championship Series MVP of his great play against the Baltimore Orioles. A little bit low. There's a line drive caught by the second baseman Dozier. 2 outs.
Pretty swing. Nothing wrong with that at all. But that's the advantage of throwing strikes down in the lower part of the strike zone. Guy hits it hard, he's going to hit it at somebody. If that ball's up, he hits it in the gap, and it's 2 bases or more. That's an excellent spot for May.
Starts off Hosmer with a high fastball.
even though May is not a guy who's going to walk, tonight he's pitching effectively wild.
And then he comes back with a breaking ball on a 1-0 count. Looks like he gets a pretty good spin on that curveball. This time he's off the plate, 2-1.
Second time through, actually this is the third time through the order. Royals should be able to pick up the spin by now and find their pitch.
He's been mixing his pitches quite well. Listening to Suzuki and following a veteran catcher's scouting report, executing it well. Here's that rainbow.
I gotta take a picture.
Oh, that is beautiful. Slow roller back of the middle, fielded by Dozier. His quick toss will get Hosmer, and it is a 1-2-3 inning. The first 1-2-3 for Trevor May tonight. The fifth inning, and you can play daily fantasy baseball for free on DraftKings.com with the official daily partner of MLB. And a promo code BRoyal for free entry. And we're looking at Perez, Keuchel, Gray, and Cabrera tonight. Keuchel no runs in 3 2/3, and he is being opposed by that talented rookie from North Carolina State, Carlos Rodon, who is the White Sox first-round pick in last year's June draft.
Miggy's already 3 for 3.
Not bad. Trevor Plouffe will lead things off. He is 0 for 13 on this homestand, and he takes strike one.
Nice slider. That's a get me over slider. Gets the hitter thinking, especially from the right side. Now he's thinking, okay, high fastball. Nope. Came right back with another slider.
So he has Plouffe down 0-2. Trevor, even though he's batting under 250, is hitting in the cleanup spot. Pretty good extra base guy. 40 doubles last season, and that is bounced in the dirt 1-2.
3 sliders in a row. It's working. Whatever he's doing, and we know what he's doing. And hitters know what he's doing, but they just can't seem to barrel it. Fastballs 88 to 90, sliders, and a few changeups. Plouffe stands straight up, doesn't have any bend in the knees at all.
I'm talking with Chris yesterday. He was talking about occasionally changing his arm angle or his hand position to get a different break. Came with the fastball that time at 87. He's mainly a two-pitch guy, but threw a lot more changeups, he said, in the month of May. There's the slider, but Plouffe takes it, and they say he went, so that will be a strikeout. And Chris Young continues to dominate right-handed batters this season. We take a look at our sprint cuts of the game.
He's got him cutting all right, cutting and popping up. He's even feeling his position well. Chris Young is doing the job so far. He's got a 1-run lead, and he's making it hold here at Target Field in Game 2. Gotta like what you're seeing. Bouncing back after 2 subpar outings. He's got his pitches locating where he wants it to. Salvi's helping him a great deal.
Rosario pumps it to right. Rios has Lorenzo Cain call him off at the last moment to make the catch, so that's out number 2, and now will face another right-handed batter. And we were talking about Chris dominating right-handers. They're 0 for 8 tonight, and this season right-handers only hitting 125.
Call that dealing. Sliders, high fastballs, they're just not able to get a hold of them.
Rex, you're a right-handed batter, a guy that tall. Does the slider give you the illusion that it's going to be a strike when he's that tall?
Yeah, he's got a nice downhill angle he's working on, but I can tell you what I'll be doing. I'll be bunting off a guy like this. It's hard to, I wasn't a home run hitter, so I'm going to look him down, and then I'm going to get a little slider, and I'm going to just top it and cause some problems on the bases for him. Just depends on your game. A lot of guys aren't sure what kind of hitter or what kind of player they are. So
wouldn't he be more difficult to bunt, particularly with his fastball?
Yeah, but he's throwing sliders at his fastball. He's going to throw most of them up. So I don't want to bunt a pitch up. I want to pop it up. I'm looking down. Sliders break down. I'm going to bunt the top of the ball. And I'm going to make a third baseman throw me out.
Suzuki popped up to center field, his first time up to end the second. And fouled back to the screen.
If I didn't have success bunting, I'd just take my shots, but I would try to zone Chris Young down. I would, anything up, I'm not going to swing, I tell myself. I might even do a lower crouch and get lower. So when the ball comes out of his hand, it looks high, and I'm going to leave it alone.
A la Pete Rose. Got it in on his hands, and Salvi flips his mask away, makes the catch. The only base runner that Young has allowed in 5 innings is a walk to Eduardo Escobar, and he caught him stealing.
April. Same pitch he made a deposit on last night. Exact same area, too. He barreled it up. Now, it didn't quite go out the ballpark, but it was really close. Yellowwood bringing the lumber, and Morales, when he hits, they win.
And of course, the 6th inning is our Sonic Slam inning. Our contestant is Evelyn Sau from Kansas City, Missouri. If the Royals hit a home run in this inning, Evelyn, you get $1,100. But if the Royals hit a grand slam out of the park, Evelyn will win $25,000 from Sonic and the Kansas City Royals. Here we go. Trevor May. He's been able to wiggle out of several jams and finally got a 1-2-3-5. Morales, Gordon, and Rios. Kendricks, we told you, started 2014 as a member of the Minnesota Twins, signing late. He was a holdout, signed in June, and he said he felt like he was spinning his wheels when he got back to the big leagues. Felt it was like a 95-mile-an-hour fastball, seemed like it was 100, and never ever felt comfortable. He had 1 home run in 39 games with the Twins. He has 7 in 55 with the Royals. Big addition, Hud, and Eric Hosmer talking about that, how he likes that 4 spot with a speed guy like Kane in front of him and a power guy to protect him, and Kendrys Morales. 3-1. He's thrown 88 pitches.
He's been throwing his changeup 3-1 counts. Take the walk.
That's smoke to center field.
Ooh, I'll say. Better check that ball. My laces might be undone.
Roy Hobbs action.
Believe it, man. That ball was crushed right down the middle. Perfect swing. Oh, man. Nothing better when you leave the batter's box and you clean a ball like that. Oh, man, look at that. Beautiful. Little back leg action right there. He went down, stayed down to get it right back up the box. Beautiful.
So Gordon, who's been on once with the walk, he struck out swinging his first time up. And Alex takes inside, and May has been pounding Gordon inside with fastballs, and then when he's located his changeup, he's locating it down, whether it's in or out. Good fade.
Locate. And you know, now you're seeing a couple of, there's 2 hitters in a row where they had abbreviated swings. Tells me they're not seeing the ball very well, or they're just guessing wrong, and they're guessing badly.
They stay inside on Alex.
May's wondering where that one was, and Alex would say, I'd like to have that one back. That's in his wheelhouse right there, down and in. We're going to go there again.
Well, Alex knows how they're working him. And we told you back in that second inning, his first battle with May, 3-1 changeup, 3-2 changeup struck him out. A single, now a walk. The Royals have 2 on with nobody out. They had a similar situation in the 4th inning, but could not score.
It's time to get a big hit. Move the runners, whatever you got to do.
Presley, the right-hander, Dunsing, the lefty.
He's got a couple of guys working.
Paul Mahler used Presley last night for an inning. Royals won 3-1. These 2 teams are tied for first place in the American League Central. 3.5 games up on Detroit.
Rios' last homer, April 6th. He's due.
That was the opener. There's a strike on the outside corner. 1 ball, 1 strike.
It's been all Royals offensively. They just haven't gotten a big hit to get him in.
Just barely grazed the lower corner. So a 1-2 count on Alex, who disagrees with Alan Porter, the home plate umpire.
No strike.
It gets away. This will advance Morales to third and Gordon to second base. So May continues to walk on the razor's edge every single inning, but he has not cut himself yet.
He'll be charged with his first wild pitch of the year. Although Suzuki would tell you after the game that he could have stayed on that.
Well, he had one back in inning number 1. Remember when we thought that was a Lorenzo Cain delayed steal, and they ruled it a wild pitch?
You're right. It's second.
There's a high fly ball to left field. This should be deep enough. The catch is made. Here comes Morales. The throw to the plate is a great one, and Morales is out. Tremendous throw by Aaron Hicks.
Well, Hicks did the right thing by calling left fielder Eddie Rosario off. He had a better angle coming towards home. So he calls him off and sees going right there, and you couldn't have made a better throw than this. And that's what it took. It took a perfect throw to get Morales. So you can't fault Jershely. Morales has the speed to get in there. If the guy throws a perfect throw, what are you going to do? If the throw's off anyway, they score their second run. So he's all fired up. There's some emotion right there.
Every single inning, the Royals have had May on the ropes with the exception of the 5th. Second and third, nobody out. Now 2 out, man at second. And Perez takes strike 1. Salvi with a single to right field in the second, struck out swinging in the 4th. Now to play, strike 2.
Third outfield assist. Outfield assist for Hicks in center.
That's why they called him up. They wanted his defense. Jordan Schaefer right now on the disabled list, who was their center fielder.
I see a lot of center fielders throw guys out at home.
What a job by May. What a job by Hicks, who helped out May in this inning with a great throw from center field to catch Morales. Royals trying not to let their fans down, but Aaron Hicks got a lot of high fives after that tremendous throw to catch Morales at home plate. Royals won 3-1 last night. They lead this one 1-0, and Chris Young has been outstanding. He's allowed one base runner, and he didn't last long when Sal Perez threw him out at second base attempting to steal.
There's a walk to Eduardo Escobar back in the third.
And Young has only needed 55 pitches through 5. The Twins, much like the Royals, just the last 2 weeks. Now the Twins were red hot for a 3.5-4 week stretch. They went 24-11, but the last couple of weeks it was more their pitching than their offense. They've averaged less than 3 runs per game the last 8 games, and none tonight. Vargas struck out swinging his first time up. Gordon should have this one. He does for the first out. And with Father's Day around the corner, be sure to get your tickets for our Father's Day celebration at the K next Sunday. Treat your dad to an afternoon at the ballpark as the Royals take on the Boston Red Sox. And the first 10,000 men will receive a special edition barbecue apron courtesy of Academy Sports and Outdoors. Tickets are available at Royals.com or by calling 1-800-6-ROYALS. And a lot of the Royal dads will be with their sons for Father's Day this Sunday, because the dad's trip heads to St. Louis next and will be there for Father's Day and then on to Milwaukee. And it's gone quite well historically. It was 4-3 the first year they had the Father's Day trip. 4-3 from Tampa Bay to Cleveland, and last year even better, 6-1. That ball hit sharply, but right at Infante. So 2 out very quickly in the 6th inning.
Young just doing a good job of locating and executing his pitches. Something he didn't have in his last 2 starts. He didn't have his command. And you can see what this big fella can do when he's hitting his spots.
Now you have a kid who's beginning to swing the bat a little better. As you see, Young, most of his outs have come on fly balls. He only has a couple of strikeouts. Hicks lined out though last time up, and he takes low ball 1. Aaron, 25 years old, out of Long Beach, California. Good breaking ball. 1-1. Ball gets back to the screen, and it's a very rare 3-1 count for Young, who has walked 1. That was Escobar back in inning number 3. We told you he was cut down trying to steal. And Chris will walk Hicks with 2 out. So second walk of the game. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Royals Baseball Corporation and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Royals. Hicks might be going. He has 5 steals this year. Been caught 1 time. And Young throws over. Dangerous time with Hicks. We told you his good speed and the power at the plate in Dozier. Just off the corner. This guy has been so productive this year, tied for first in the American League with 18 doubles, along with the Royals' Morales. He's also first in runs scored with 47. First in extra base hits with 32.
Young holding. Making it tough for Hicks to get a good jump when a guy holds it that long.
Because he's 6'10", he usually doesn't hold runners as well as a guy like a Yordano Ventura, but he says statistically I'm better just getting the hitter out than worrying about guys stealing.
Well, that's smart. He's a veteran pitcher. He knows. Especially when you got a catcher like Salvador Perez. Throws out 30 to 40% of runners every year. There you go. Trust Salvi.
Runner goes, and it gets away from Perez, and Hicks will steal second base. Now a single could tie the game.
Salvi is trying to be a little too quick. He was going to catch that ball and throw from his knee. Just a little too quick, and he wouldn't have got Hicks anyway. Too good a jump. Ball bounced. Salvi's got great hands, but you never can control the bad hops that are in those batter's box.
Now Young can go back and focus on the man at the plate. Dozier has been hot, hitting .382 his last 9 games. 0 for 2 tonight. Outside, ball 3. So 3-1 counts to the last 2 batters. His next pitch will be his 70th. Ball 4 to Dozier, and the Twins have 2 on with 2 out for Torrey Hunter. So back-to-back walks.
Well, he's I don't know if he's tired or what, but he just doesn't have the same command that he had earlier. Dave Island's going to have a little chat with him here.
And no one up yet in the Royals bullpen. Hunter in his career is 2 for 11. Off of Chris Young with 1 home run and almost hit it out his last time up, but Alex Gordon leaped at the wall and robbed him of a home run that would have tied the game. This guy, when the Twins win, he's hot.
Yep, amazing numbers there for this gamer. This is the biggest plate appearance of the night so far against Young.
Fouled off, strike 1. We told you last time up he sent Gordon to the wall.
Yep, this is a wonderful play here. Great concentration. That's a tough play when you're backpedaling like that against the wall. Degree of difficulty sky high.
Strike 2.
Got the inside part of the plate. Hunter, .358 hitter with a runner in scoring position. He's good.
But Young missed his target. Salvi wanted it low and away. Backed up on it. You talked about him He's a little shaky with his command this inning. And Hunter belts it to left, but right at Alex, and Gordon pulls it down, and a big sigh of relief for Chris Young and his mates. Royals hold a 1-0 lead going to the 7th at Target Field.
Going on in the world of baseball, Albert Pujols tied Mickey Mantle with his 536th. Panera takes us around the league. Detroit all over Chicago, Seattle up on Cleveland. Fizz was talking about Carlos Rodon, scoreless through 6, but he's now thrown about 115 pitches in that one. And are we allowed to talk about a no-hitter? Of course we are. Chris Heston throws the first no-hitter in Major League Baseball this year. He is a rookie. He no-hit the Mets. First time the Mets have been no-hit since 1993 when Darryl Kyle did it. And the Giants, they've had a knack for no-hitters lately, as they have had a bunch of them here in recent years. 9 innings, no hits, no walks, 11 strikeouts. He hit 3 batters. But Chris Heston with the no-hitter.
Wow, congratulations for that. And here is Omar Infante hitting one in the air to left field. Rosario with the catch. 1 pitch to Omar and 1 out. Casey Bean is the new pitcher, and Casey was on the disabled list until May 29th. He missed 25 games because of a right shoulder strain. And Rex, I'm guessing he's in there only to face right-handers. Righties batting .211, lefties .353.
Yeah, not overpowering, but 90 to 93 with his sinking fastball. He's a slider, changeup, fastball, slider, sinker, slider.
He is our Chevy call to the bullpen. 73 games last year, a 3.9 ERA, mainly a middle reliever. Their bullpen, their starting rotation was a mess last year. They were 29th among the 30 teams, an ERA at 4.57, a full run more than the Royals. Escobar, who doubled his first time up and scored on Moustakas' single, the only run tonight. Kansas City so hot to begin 2015. In April, they hit .306 as a team, averaged 5.5 runs per game. They had 6 players hitting .300 on May 1st. But since that time, the team batting average .245 and averaging 3.7 runs. Escobar chased a bad one wide of the zone. Beers of the Cave returns on Friday, July 3rd as the Royals take on the Minnesota Twins. Join us for this pregame beer garden themed event featuring a wide assortment of unique beer varieties, live entertainment, and each ticket comes with an exclusive Royals koozie. Get your tickets today at Royals.com/special events. Moustakas is 1 for 3, knocked in the only run. Ball misses outside. Beautiful look at Target Field in Minneapolis, Minnesota. These two teams battling for first place in the Central. The Royals at 32 and 23. The Twins at 33 and 24. Mike takes his strike, grazing the outside corner.
Moose 1 for 5 in his career against Fiend.
Three and 1. Lefty Brian Dunsing has been throwing the last 2 innings. And I would imagine he's getting ready for Eric Hosmer just in case Moose and then Lorenzo Cain continue this frame. Now with a 3-1 count, they have shifted 3 infielders to the right side, 1 on the left, and there is a line drive directly at the shift. I mean, that was good move defensively by the Minnesota Twins defense. Plate gets the guys to run him down.
Yep. AT&T U-verse Rewind going to show you he's gotten some help. Salvi helped him, throwing a runner out. Now Alex Gordon timed this perfectly. I don't know if this will win out of the ballpark or not, but if he doesn't make that catch, that's going to be a hit and some extra bases. But a great timing and by the athlete, tremendous athlete Alex Gordon.
Beautiful sky here in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Chris Young has not allowed a hit. He has walked 3 and 2 came in that last inning, the 6th. There is a fastball that grazes the outside corner to Mauer. Joe has grounded out twice, once to the pitcher and once to the second baseman. Mauer, Plouffe, Rosario. Breaking ball misses away.
Howard normally shoots that ball to left field, but in this series he's been trying to pull a lot of pitches, and it's been getting him in trouble.
Got it in on Joe, and the Royals, just in case, have Herrera with Morales warming.
Gotta have those guys ready to go in case something happens here in this inning. Butch Davis, first base coach for the Minnesota Twins, almost got hit by that liner.
Three and two. Came right after him with a fastball. The Twins have never had a leadoff man on. They had a one-out walk to Escobar, who was thrown out trying to steal in the third inning, and two-out walks to Hicks and Dozier in the sixth inning. Again came back with the fastball. Hit pretty well to left field. Kane says he has it, and he does have it in that triangle corner near the 377 marker in left center. Fans, Fox Sports Midwest and the Royals invite the University of Missouri fans to come to the K July 24th when the Royals face the Astros. Buy a ticket through Royals.com/Mizzou and then get to the game early to get a Mizzou-themed Royals cap. It's Mizzou Day at the K on July 24th. And I think I said a couple of times that Father's Day is this weekend. I'm wrong. My daughter sent me a card a little early and it threw me off. And it's a week from this Sunday.
She's early.
So a reminder to your kids.
She already got you a card.
She's the best. Breaking ball misses. They say he did not go. Bluth with good power, 8 home runs this year. Trevor to right field and deep. Backing up Rios off the top of the wall. That is the first hit of the game by Minnesota, and it's a triple. Young backing up well as the ball skips by Moustakas. That barely missed a home run.
Well, it sure did. Had to hold your breath on that one. Because off of his bat, it looked like it had enough to sneak over that wall down there. Unfortunately, it stayed in. Rios not exactly sure how to play that one off the wall, and it bounced a little bit far from him, and he was able to get a triple out.
And Rex, I anticipated this with Ned Yost coming out of the dugout. You can see the ball skipping away, but Ned Yost has two guys that can get a strikeout in the bullpen. One is Kelvin Herrera, and the other is Franklin Morales. And he wants the lefty Morales to go after the lefty swinging Eddie Rosario.
What a job by Chris Young. Nice work. One heck of an effort. He did his job. Offense trying to do theirs, but just barely.
6 1/3 innings, but the man Plouffe at third base belongs to him. But he was very alert backing up the play.
Sure was. Doing his thing now. This ball almost went out of the park. Look at this. They say it's a game of inches because it is. That ball, another inch, and it bounces over, and it's a tie game. So, it's still got a little life here late in this one. And he knows what to do whenever a ball's hit like that. Back up third base. Nobody on. Now, infield's in.
The batter is Eddie Rosario, the rookie, out of Puerto Rico. He is hit in all 14 home games, but 0 for 2 tonight. And Morales is a tough lefty that he's never seen before.
Yeah, why not bunt here? How about a little squeeze?
He sends it to Escobar, who holds the runner, throws out Rosario, 2 outs.
Ooh, man, I'll tell you what. That was a tester. Escobar having to go to the backhand there. And now Ned's doing a little juggling. Taking a page out of Terry Francona's book. The Cleveland Indians manager. Mixing and matching. Nice job. But it's a tough play. Well, look at Escobar on this backhand right here. Ball kind of short hopped him, but no problem. Trusty hands good and soft.
Yeah, they're not going to pinch hit for Suzuki. He's a right-handed swinger, and Herrera, it's his job to get him out. Menards. Save big money at Menards on all your home improvement needs. And by your Midwest Ford dealers. Visit us at yourmidwestforddealers.com. It's a beautiful evening here in the Twin Cities. The Royals holding on to a precarious 1-0 lead. And Kelvin Herrera comes on after Franklin Morales did an excellent job getting the one man he needed to get out. Plouffe had to hold at third base. He's still there with 2 out now, and it's the right-hander Herrera facing the right-handed swinging Kurt Suzuki.
All right, here we go. Herrera has had success off of Suzuki, 0 for 4 with 1 strikeout. Power fastball, Suzuki knows it.
Plouffe tripled high off the wall, barely missing a home run. Almost hit him, ball 1.
Mid to 100 with his fastball, 88 to 90 with his changeup.
He told me before the ball game he's trying to mix in a few curveballs, but doesn't have the confidence yet in a situation like this. In the hole, backhanded Escobar, long throw. What a hit by Hosmer! A sensational play all the way around.
El Mago to the rescue. He's a magician. Twins fans thought they had him a tie game. That's not good hitting when you hit to this guy, especially to his backhand. Quick release, great dig by Haas. I'll say that's the best dig of the year.
Oh man, look at that relief.
What a play. I mean, you know, how many times have we seen it? The defense picking up that pitching when it's really needed. And this was a perfect play. But this dig, I wasn't sure if Hosmer was going to be able to pick that cleanly. But he's so great. Hosmer is it's staying low with his glove and then coming up. And he times that perfectly. Look at the emotion. Yeah, and Herrera says, way to go, El Mago.
I have asked Escobar this in the past. What's it like having Hosmer at first base? And he said, I don't have to think. I just throw it. The high ones, he's 6'4" and reaches up and grabs them. The low ones, he just picks out of the dirt and saves me from an error.
Well, I'm sure that. Here's the scoop again. That's an in-between scoop, too. I mean, the ball wasn't a short hop pick. That was the toughest pick a first baseman can have.
Yeah, you always told me when you, in the rare times you played first base, you'd much prefer it skip on the grass before it got to you.
Yeah, heck yeah. Grass or a nice short hopper makes it easier to pick, but that in-betweener there, man, that can really cause you trouble. But not with that Gold Glover. Hosmer will get a shot, but I'm sure it won't be off of Fiend. Fiend's in to face Lorenzo Cain, and I'm sure he'll be done. Lorenzo 1 for 6 with a double.
We've had Dunsing warming up. And a 2-2 count on Cain. Then Hosmer and Morales and Gordon. Dunsing has been preparing for those guys, it seems like, the last 3 innings, because Trevor May, even though he only gave up 1 run in 6 innings, he was on the ropes all 6 innings. Shot foul. Both of these teams have been offensively challenged in June, but the Royals trying to fight through it. Minnesota, remember, they've only scored 5 runs the last 4 games. They say a slump is like a soft bed, easy to fall into, hard to get out of.
Whoever said that is correct.
Grounder third. Plouffe has it. And Cain almost beat it out.
Trying desperately to get on base to give the back end of that bullpen a little breathing room here. Lorenzo Cain's off to the races. Molitor, as expected, coming out making a pitching change here.
Brian Dunsing will be the new pitcher for Minnesota. Royals lead 1-0 here in the 8th.
And there it is, the rookie. Hit a batter to lead off the inning, and then there you go, Ruben Tejada. Yeah, he is gone in that one. No-hitter. The Giants guys have 4 of the last 12 no-hitters in baseball for the 27-year-old rookie, Chris Heston. Only 2 fly balls in the game, but he did a great job. 11 strikeouts, 3 hit batters. I do want to give you one other important line on the day, not relating to that, but relating to the Royals. Danny Duffy, his rehab assignment for Omaha. 4 innings, 2 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts, 49 pitches. So 49 pitches in 4 innings, very efficient.
That sure is. That's good news. Well, here is Brian Dunsing out of the University of Nebraska facing Eric Hosmer, who fouled the first pitch off and then rolls one to second. Picked off by Dozier, who throws out Eric. So very quickly 2 outs in the 8th inning. And it's not like Dunsing has been dominating left-handers, and that's why Paul Molitor brought him in. Brian Dunsing, 444 average by lefties against him this year. That's crazy.
Worked that time. Good curveball. Got him.
He had pitched very well before his last outing against Milwaukee, and only went a third of an inning and gave up 3 runs.
Got him on the slow curve. 89 to 93 with his fastball. Big slow curve. He'll mix in a few changeups too. Righties.
Like Kendrys Morales, who turns things around to bat from the right side. Kendrys singled his last time up. The Royals with 7 hits and only 1 run. The Twins with 1 hit, a triple, with 1 out in the 7th inning. But Morales, then Herrera, were able to do the job. The Royals held the lead. He tried to give the Royals a 2-0 lead.
I don't think he wants to give Morales too much with Alex Gordon on deck. He's afraid that Morales could jump it, hit a homer. He is 3 for 7 off of Dunsing in his career.
Rex, I would think it would be difficult to maintain consistency from both sides of the plate if you're a switch hitter.
It is, Fizz. It's not easy, but it's natural. When you've been doing it your whole life, it's no problem. Now, he has 2 different swings as far as getting himself ready, loading up. He's a toe tapper from the right side. Like I thought. I didn't think he wanted to pitch to Morales. The only strike he got was a bad pitch that he swung at. Now, he's going to have to deal with his old buddy, Alex Gordon.
And these guys, dear friends, I mean, they were roommates in college and each other's wedding. Alex Gordon and Brian get together a lot in the offseason, and Dunsing was a star in Nebraska. 17 wins, only 2 losses for the Cornhuskers, where of course Gordon was the All-American. He said that was his proudest moment, helping Nebraska to their first College World Series in Omaha. He said until last year.
Alex has more at-bats than any of his teammates against Dunsing. Pretty good numbers. 31 at-bats. He knows the big hook's coming.
One ball, 1 strike. Just got underneath.
Fastball, 2 hooks in a row. Had the right swing too. He stayed inside. Looked like he was going to serve that out to left field.
Show me fastball. It was good velocity at 94 miles an hour, but not even close. And that will leave the count at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Right-hander Rios waiting. outside, 3-2. So he went from the fastball back to the breaking ball. Counts full, and with 2 out, Morales will be going. Outfielders are deep.
Alex has walked twice already in tonight's game.
Gordon sends it back up the middle. Dozier makes the play, no throw, and the Royals have him on first and second. They had played Dozier so deep in the outfield, it results in a Royals infield hit. So Alex wins one against his buddy Brian Dunsing.
Yeah, hey, look, sometimes, you know, when you're way out there like this, and you know, you guy hits a little two hopper right here, you're in trouble. You can't throw him out with any kind of speed. So Alex going good. 2 walks and a knock. That'll help. Dunsing, that's all he could do.
And Molitor wants the right-hander to face Alex Rios. We'll be right back. Up Chris Young with a no-hitter through 6 1/3. Moustakas had the RBI single that gave him the lead, and here's a look.
All right, this is it. Surprising me, I thought they were going to really jump on that starting pitcher May. Dodge drives of the game. We'll show it all happened early. This is it. First inning. Moose with the only ribby. Tell maybe Rios.
How about a big hit by Alex? Foul off. Now Presley came in to pitch the 9th inning last night, struck out Rios looking. Did walk the leadoff batter Alex Gordon, but got the next 3.
He threw a lot of curveballs, including that first one there to Rios. He's got a pretty decent fastball.
This time Alex doesn't bite on the breaking ball. Royals have left 7 runners tonight. They have been so good this year with runners in scoring position until the last couple of weeks, but they haven't had many runners in scoring position. That won't do it. Escobar gets it to second. We head to the bottom of the 8th inning. inning. And when leading after 7 innings, they have the best record in Major League Baseball, 94-1. The only loss was to San Diego, 6-5 last May. But if you include the postseason, the Royals are 101 leading after 7. And a big reason why is number 17.
Man,
Wade
you better
Davis.
believe that. You don't have to know baseball all that well, and you see numbers like that, it tells you they got some heck of a back end of the bullpen. And they do. Wade Davis, right man, right spot, right here. Getting nail biting time here. Fastball, overpowering fastball, 95 to 97. Cut fastball at 93, and a nice overhand curve he's got to show the Twins.
Papa Ben watching.
Cool and calm, just like his son. Vargas will have to get a new piece of lumber.
This is the 3rd straight game that Davis has worked. He walked the leadoff batter Torrey Hunter last night, but the next batter he enticed Joe Mauer to ground into a 4-6-3 double play and then struck out Plouffe. Enough velocity where Vargas couldn't do much with it. Davis has not allowed a home run over 107 innings, dating to September 4th of 2013. Vargas with tremendous power. Not this time, Kenny.
Yeah.
As Wade dots the outside corner with that heater.
Home plate umpire Alan Porter gave it to Wade Davis. Borderline. He'll take it. Salvi, the way he sets up, sure does help sell the pitch, I'll tell you that. Big target, centers it up, though. That outside part of the plate, it makes it look really better than it was.
And we're down to the 8-9 hitters, Escobar and Hicks. And they've been the most productive hitters of the night. They are 4 for 6 against Royal pitching tonight. All of it against Chris Young. Or last night, I beg your pardon. They were 4 for 6 last night. And Escobar has walked, grounded out. And Hicks has lined out and walked.
Hey, you got a battle now. Hey, come on.
Davis has Escobar very quickly down. 0-2 in the count.
Might try the same location he did on Vargas. Fastball away. We'll see what Salvi's calling for. Maybe a curveball. It was. Couldn't get him to bite.
We saw Escobar take an outside fastball, flip it to left field for a base hit. So Davis is staying inside and gets him on the breaking ball. Ball in the dirt. The throw to first base is in time. 2 big outs here in the 8th inning.
Yeah, stayed with the curveball.
Fans, there's no better place to spend your Friday nights than at the K. Stock up on dollar hot dogs and peanuts for a Buck Night presented by Visit KC while you enjoy the Royals in action. And make sure to stay after the game for a great fireworks show courtesy of Hy-Vee and Pepsi. The next Buck Night and summer fireworks will be next Friday against the Red Sox. For tickets, go to Royals.com or call 1-800-6-ROYALS. Now it's the kid Hicks. We told you he's really hit the ball hard in this series. A double last night, single sharply struck to left field, line out this evening, and then the walk. And Davis has him swinging over the top.
Hicks 0 for 4 in his career against Davis.
Wade didn't like that. He snapped at that baseball. He wanted that outside corner, but now falls behind 2-1. Just didn't locate it where he wanted to. Comes back with the breaking ball, and I thought that caught the strike zone.
Man, well, plate umpire Alan Porter, he gave him one, and now just gave it back to the Twins. That's a great curve.
I think if he throws that same pitch, same location again, he gets the strike called. Staying inside. Hicks pops it up a mile high on the infield. Moustakas will take it, and Wade Davis does it again. Just like a fine restaurant in Minneapolis.
That's right. And you know what? When you've had enough, you say, waiter, check please.
And former Royals players on the field July 23rd for Diamond of Dreams. Enjoy a menu from local restaurants, live music, and a fireworks show, all for charity. Buy tickets now at Royals.com/Diamond of Dreams. And Blaine Boyer is the new pitcher. And Rex, you see his numbers, very good 2.17 ERA. But left-handers only batting 105. What's he doing to get left-handers out?
Yep, he's got a fastball 90-93, two-seamer. He'll sink it. He's got a slider and a changeup, and he's been able to keep the ball down, get guys to hit ground balls. That's his specialty.
He will face a right-hander, Salvador Perez, another right-hander, Omar Infante, and then Alcides Escobar. So 3 right-handers before Moustakas. And there's that little wrinkle in there for strike one. He has been sensational for almost 2 months. An 0.69 ERA since April 17th. And it's not like he has a Wade Davis fastball or a Greg Holland slider.
No, wait for the cookie and drive it. Salvi knows, never faced him before, but he's looking out over the plate and down. That's his specialty. He loves that low ball.
The Royals have had plenty of opportunities to bust this game open, but they have left 9 runners stranded in 8 innings. That's a shot to deep left, and the Royals are up 2-0. Upper deck.
Wait for the cookie. That's all he did. Thank you, sir. We'll take it. Oh, my. 9th home run of the season. Salvador Perez gives a little breathing room for closer Greg Holland. Woo! That ball was laser lined in the second deck. Watch this again. He waited for the straight one and he got it right down the middle. 8th home run at Target Field. Most for at any road venue for Salvi. He loves hitting here.
He knew it immediately. I mean, it was swung on, gone, as you would say.
That's exactly right. Don't throw it, he did. Salvi knew. Oh, man, did that feel good.
Infante 1 for 3. That was an infield hit. He rolls this one foul. And he knows that he'll give his closer, as you talked about, Greg Holland, a little breathing room because 1-0.
Yeah, you can't.
I mean,
Salvi, you got to be throwing your breaking balls down in the dirt. Salvi swings. He only has 4 walks. Why would you throw him a cookie like that?
Well, I'm sure he was trying to execute further away than that.
Well, that's what hitters wait for. They wait for mistakes. That ball split the dish in two.
It's a hard game.
Salvi took a row of seats out the second deck on that baby.
You know, it's a game of inches for pitchers because if he throws that 2 inches maybe further away, he gets a fly out. It's much like Trevor Plouffe. He hits a drive down the right field line that barely misses a home run by inches, winds up at third with a triple, and the next 2 relievers for the Royals, Morales and Herrera, get out of the jam and no run scored. In the air to center field, and Aaron Hicks. 1 out.
Salvador Perez takes the team lead. Homers, man, go ahead. Yeah, I don't know why Boyer even bothered to watch that one. And that's one of the reasons why Minnesota most likely will not be there in September, because they're bullpen. Now they're playing good in June. And, you know, they've got a couple of guys that are
Glenn
good.
Perkins, 21 for 21 in saves, but to get to him.
That's what I'm saying. They don't have a whole lot.
Well, also offensively, I mean, they were like on fire for about a 3-week stretch. But the last 9 games, if you include this one, averaging 2.5 runs per game, and they've scored 5 runs their last 4 games. So here is Escobar, who doubled his first time up. Fires that one foul.
But in modern day baseball, you don't have a pin, you don't win. And the one thing the Royals have that nobody else does in the division, or some will argue in baseball, is they've got the strongest bullpen. The Tigers and Minnesota, even Cleveland, they don't have the kind of pin.
Kansas City's 1.77 bullpen ERA is by far the lowest. And the HDH, which has been Herrera, Davis, and Holland, that was ridiculous last year, has been helped out by Ryan Madsen, Jason Frazier, Franklin Morales. Strike call to Alcides Escobar for a 2-2 count, and of course the return of Luke Hochevar, who missed all of last year with the Tommy John surgery. Fouled out of play. It stays 2 balls and 2 strikes. And the 8th inning has been the insurance add-on for Kansas City. In the 8th inning or later, look at the run differential. The Royals plus 29, and last night was Hosmer's base hit to right field that gave them a 3-1 lead, a 2-run cushion. And tonight the home run by Salvador Perez gives the Royals at least a 2-0 lead heading to the bottom of the 9th. Esky just fights it off. Blaine Boyer, a veteran, he's pitched just about everywhere. Started with Atlanta, St. Louis, Arizona, the Mets, then the Hanshin Tigers over in Japan. And that ball hit to Aaron Hicks. 2 outs. MLB.TV Premium is the #1 live streaming sports service. Watch every out-of-market regular season game live or on demand in HD with highlights, live look-ins, and pitch tracking every night on every device. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV for details.
There's your all-star catcher right there, folks. There he is. He's got game, he's got energy, and he's got skills, Fizz.
How about that big home run he hit on Sunday? That was the difference in the Royals' win over the Rangers, and in dramatic fashion again, adding to the Royals' lead.
Look at how calm he is. 3 outs to go. They get
about catching Holland probably.
That's right.
Who he'll face, which is the top of the order. Dozier, Hunter, Maurer, 3 dangerous hitters coming up for Greg.
There's their closer, Perkins, right over Holland's left shoulder.
Boyer's been flat dominant against lefties this year. As a matter of fact, he's holding lefties to 1 hit in their last 33 at-bats. That covers his last 21 games since April the 12th. 1 for 33 are lefties against Blaine Boyer. Boyer with San Diego last year. He was with the Royals for a little bit in Omaha. Didn't make it to the big league club, but he was with the Royals minor league Storm Chasers in 2013. Coming inside. Moose pops it up. Suzuki makes the play, but the Royals get a big hit from their catcher, Salvador Perez, and now Greg Holland comes out of the KC pen to try and wrap things up.
It's hammer time. Get her done.
Another RBI way back in the first 2-0 Royals. Remember, Boulevard Royals Live comes your way with Joe Goldberg immediately after our ball game, so please stay with us. Greg Holland this year, 1.88 the ERA. He has pitched very well, and his pitch efficiency lately has been excellent. A lot of strikes, not many wide of the mark. He's looking for his 11th save. And Dozier goes after the first pitch and strikes it foul.
Low to mid-90s is his fastball. Slider, occasional split fingers. Dozier 1 for 7 in his career with a walk off of Holland. He's punched out 4 times. Strike one, Holland will tell you, is his best pitch, especially closing games down in the opposing ballpark. Not easy.
And I was talking to Greg before the ball game about the changeups that he was throwing last night, and he just said, hey, as you continue in the game, you got to keep on coming up with ways of getting the guys out.
That's all that matters.
There is Dad, Scott Holland, the hills of North Carolina, watching son Greg go after it.
There's some guy just came down and tried to talk to him. He said, don't talk to me now, sir.
Dozier skies it in the air, and Lorenzo Cain wants it, and there's the first out. And Rex, you're exactly right what you said. When a dad is watching his son pitch, he doesn't want to talk to anybody. He wants to get that focus.
Yeah, he'll take it and says, all right, steady as she goes. Guy tried to bug him. What a baseball man that guy is. He loves baseball. Played it his whole life.
Ball 1 to Torrey Hunter. Hunter almost drove one out, but Alex Gordon leaped at the wall in the 4th inning and pulled it down. Then he lined out with 2 runners on. His last time up to end the 6th, and that ball was hit on the screws off Chris Young.
Torrey Hunter just 1 for 8 in his career against Holland.
A strike in there.
You heard some moans and groans from the target field fans here saying, we don't want you bunting.
Well, don't you think he was just showing it to try and distract them? Because I don't think he was going to drop a bunt.
No.
2-0 count. I think he was trying to get a 3-0 count.
Yeah, that might have been his pitch, even though it was perfectly located.
He does have a 17 game on base streak on the line. He has gotten on either by way of a hit, a walk, and Hunter tonight is 0 for 3. Went right after him with the fastball, and Torrey Hunter slams the bat down. Pops it up to Omar Infante. 2 outs.
Holland executing his pitches, doing what he likes to do. Frustrate the hitters. That's right. The Royals are in town. It's time to reclaim first place if they can just get 1 more out. They'll be in there solo. And Mr. Holland, he likes to see the opposing hitters frustrated when his son gets them out.
Joe Mauer. He's grounded out twice and flied out to left. There's a curveball.
Was that
throwing that?
Was that the slow boy?
Yeah.
Yeah, there it was. He said, he told me the other night that he'll mix one of those in every so often.
Yeah, Dave Island was telling me, he said, remember, he was a starting pitcher in the minor leagues, so he has all of those pitches. But before, he only needed the fastball, the slider, and the split. Not throwing the split as much anymore, but good changeup last night as well.
And he's not throwing 95 consistently this year. So he's being a little bit more creative. Still 93, 94, that's plenty anything over 90. He can spot that ball. We've seen closers that didn't have overpowering fastballs be successful, and he's kind of mixing in some other pitches.
Rex, remember when Trevor Hoffman aged a little bit, lost a little miles per hour on his fastball, but wow, what a changeup he developed, and he was still saving 35, 40 games every year.
Well, he wants to try to get back in this count here if he can.
Goes right after Mauer, 3-0. He has some room to work with the 2-0 lead. A little bit high, ball 4. And now the tying run will come to the plate in Trevor Plouffe.
Trevor Plouffe, 2 for 8 in his career against Holland. Both of those homers.
And he barely missed a home run his last time up, hitting it high off the right field wall and settling for a triple. He was 0 for 14 on this homestand until the triple.
Just keep the ball away from him. Make him go the other way.
Runner goes, and they'll just give Mauer second base. The Royals don't care.
Like a pretty good slider on the outer half. Didn't get it.
Time called.
It's tough to close at any game, at any level, anywhere you are in the ballpark, whatever city you're in, home park or away, but especially away. When you're in the opponent's ballpark, I've had Monty and several closers tell me that that's the toughest place, no doubt.
He has fallen behind Trevor Plouffe, who's a very good fastball hitter. But Holland can get back in the count with that slider. He's having difficult time controlling the fastball. Now it's 3-0.
You know, Holland, he's a smart guy. He doesn't want to make a mistake to either Mauer or to this guy, Trevor Plouffe.
Well, they got a strike across, perfectly located on the inside corner.
Kid Rosario on deck has never faced him before. He can get another pop up in the inning.
He had 2 to start the inning, then the walk to Mauer. Now the 3-1 pitch. Fouled back. Rex, I don't think he's going to throw the fastball here. I mean, not on this pitch I'm talking about on a 3-2 count.
Plouffe had to take a rip right there. He got a pitch that was up and he couldn't barrel it. It's too high and the velocity was too great. Now Holland has a good opportunity. He throws that slider for strikes. See if he can get him over aggressive here. Not going to give him a cookie, that's for sure.
Oh, he threw that slider and a swing and a miss, and the Royals have taken the first 2 games of this series and are back in first place in the American League Central.
Ooh, what a nail biter. Holland to the rescue, though. He had Plouffe right where he wanted him the whole way. 3-0, got back in the count, fastball, and finished him with a slider. Salvi, thanks for the insurance run, that nice big home run, your 9th of the season, and the Royals They may not be tearing the cover off the ball, just 1 for 9 with Burns in scoring position tonight, but they had enough, just like last night, to get the W.
And that's their fourth shutout of the season and their first on the road this year. Good signs for Kansas City as they're back to 10 games over 500 at 33-23.
Can't go anywhere. I'll tell you, it's a great night without that starting pitching. Chris Young, fantastic. He was outstanding. Staying on all 4 quadrants of the strike zone and trying to stay out of the middle. Getting through these Twins with no problem. Just gave up 1 hit. Salvi, look at him. It was a no-doubter. He said, I can't even bear to watch with this game down. And it was still going on the line. Hunter, frustrated. Twins sinking fast in this series.
And then the final out, wicked slider from Greg Holland that looked like a strike and then bit down and out of the strike zone. And the Royals win it 2-0. Let's go on the field with Joel.
All right, and we're joined right now by Salvador Perez. Starting to hit a lot of these late game home runs. But first off, forget about the water, okay? Let's talk about your pitcher. Chris Young, 6 1/3, 1 hit. Why was he so good tonight?
Very aggressive, Pablo. He come in the middle today. He like, I want to pound this guy. I want to be aggressive with this guy. And that's what he do tonight. Pretty good, pretty good. He used all his pitch he had. He keep the ball down. And I think about it, not hitting the 7th inning. So.
You started thinking about it. You didn't tell him that, though.
No. You know how that works. Nobody say nothing, but I started to think about it a little bit. And we get behind the count to Plus, and he wanted to throw a fastball, and he had a hit.
Okay, so then Plouffe hits the triple, and you get Morales and Herrera to come in, 4 pitches between them. Tell me about that and the defense of Escobar and Hosmer.
Good. I think everybody know how we like to play, you know. And Morales coming to the game. You need a little bit.
Oh. There, you got me. Drew Butera with the water bottle.
Yeah, he might.
So how about that defensive play?
Good. Eki, for me, is the best shortstop in the league, you know. And good team we got in Kansas City.
Hosmer, best first baseman in the league. Escobar, best shortstop in the league. And maybe Salvi Perez, the best late-inning home run guy. 3 in the last 4 games, all in the 8th inning or later. What's going on with that?
I don't know. Hopefully we continue to hit the home late, you know, and Tyson win, you know. That's the reason we play every day, play hard, and Tyson win the game.
Back in sole possession of first place. We'll let you go for the sweep tomorrow. Ooh, it feels good on a warm night, doesn't it?
Mucho frío.
Who was that?
Mike
Mustaka with the Mucho Frio gated water bath. Good job, Salvi.
Thank you, Baba.
All right, there we go. Can't cool Salvi off at the plate, and Royals fans are loving it. He's going to toss the ball up in a moment to a young lady that has a sign that says El Nino, and that is his nickname. Guys, more coming up on Boulevard Royals Live.
Thank you very much, Joel. Chris Young wins his 5th of the year, and we'll come back and close it out and then get to Joel's Boulevard Royals Live.